This is the 15.7 planning issue for observability. In this release, we're going to be focusing on utilizing the plumbing that we've built over the last couple of releases and releasing a couple of features that allows the user to really start seeing the advantages of combining observability data together with a DevOps platform, and use some of these features end to end. First, I'm going to be showing a couple of issues that are left over from 15.6. First being moving the navigation into GitLab. What that means is that our UI, basically the observability UI, gets integrated completely into GitLab. In this case, you see an example of this is where the observability page is, but the menus, the navigation, the URLs, the buttons are all within the GitLab UI, and moving back and forth between pages happens through the GitLab high-level UI. There's no nesting, there's no going deep within sub-pages. Navigation happens only at the high level, and the user doesn't get lost. The theme is adapted to make it look as if it is completely native. This is, for example, an example of pages where one would see a list of existing dashboards. This is the home page. This is an example of the page to manage dashboards. The menus here that you see are at the group level. Explore is an example. This is a completely random query, but that would show how a query can be done within the GitLab UI. And this, again, is at the group level. So that is obviously one of the pieces to make it very easy for our users to find and use the UI itself. Then the other thing that we're going to be doing is embedding. It's also a leftover from 15.6, which is embedding traces and issues and errors with traces and errors, or anything that happens to come into the observability UI or system into issues or incidents. So the way it looks like, I've highlighted the screenshot here, a user can take the URL off a certain chart. A chart, for example, is this one, right? Like this chart here would have a URL. A URL can be bounded in time, can be fixed in time from time A to time B, or can be moving in time. That URL can be copy pasted. In this case, one would copy paste a bounded query that starts and stops at a certain time because one would want to highlight a specific issue. That specific issue could be, for example, something happening in this graph. So instead of doing a screenshot that and also having to copy a link, one would just take the link and then paste it directly into the issue editor, which would then recognize based on the URL. In this case, this is a demo, so it says your local host, but we have our own URLs. It would detect and start embedding a graph. This graph is a real graph. One can click through on the graph to go to the actual page that you see here. Then, so this is one of the first features to really show that it's useful to get observability data accessible from a feature, from a platform like GitLab, because it allows you to, within the development cycle of an application, be able to embed and talk about issues and whatever they would be, and do it live with the graphs instead of having to send screenshots around. So now we get into some of the features of 15.7. 15.7, in this case, the focus is we have we have a higher level epic called phase 2 of error tracking that tracks this, and one can take a look. But this is basically how to get certain of our features to maturity. In this case, error tracking. This for this to happen, there's a lot of sub issues, but the ones that we're going to be focusing in this release are these two. These two are not specific to error tracking. They work with any kind of observability data, but they will help make the error tracking story more complete. So the first one is a user can add and remove data sources. So one can track this in this epic over here. What is a data source? A data source is a way for the UI to import data from somewhere else. Prometheus data, tracing data like Jaeger, Sentry data for errors, Elastic data from or open search data for logs, or even some data specific to certain cloud providers. These are the data sources that we have kept in our fork and that we are going to be maintaining. And these are the data sources that we want to allow anyone to point to. This is the way that one can use the observability UI is goes to two ways. One, it works with our existing backends. We have error tracking, or the beginning of error tracking, and we have we're working on metrics, and which is a Prometheus-based API type backend, and where we have a tracing backend. So those are our own backends. But with a customer, the customer's data already lives in existing backends, existing providers. We don't want to close our doors to where the data is and provide provide advantages and features to the user right away. So we will, in this with this feature, allow the user to be able to add any data sources they want, and be able to then query and visualize them within the system, just like that. A data source basically gets selected up here, and then one chooses, for example, if one wants to query a Prometheus system, and then one can type the query here and get the graphs. Why is that useful? This allows everybody to get this allows the user to get all their data into one place and create dashboards in that place, our UI, and share the dashboards, and also embed the dashboards and also the graphs themselves just like that. So that means that even if the user is not sending data in our backends, because our backends might be very new or they don't have the features that they want, we can get the data where it is and help the user and bring it into their development and DevOps process. Then the main other feature that we want to get done is managing dashboards in project repositories as code. This is one other incentive for a user to be able to combine observability data together with the DevOps platform. We want to be able to have dashboards saved inside of each project repository, and then at the project level, one would be able to then see all the dashboards in this manner here, so to speak, or in this manner here, just not with this page, just at a project level specific way. So only the dashboards that are in a specific project. When a dashboard gets updated in Git, the UI automatically updates it as well. In the future, we can improve it and make it so that one can edit the dashboard also in the UI here and commit it back. But for the next release, we'll be going from Git to the UI. And this will allow us to have dashboards as code and have dashboards live right next to the code that they're supposed to monitor and represent. Yeah. Okay. A couple of other high-level tasks that I want to highlight, which are here. These are not features. These are mainly two things. One is the metrics design that continues. We have in 15.6 built a design for our metrics backend. We will now be creating an architectural blueprint, circulating it, and to be able to start implementation as soon as we can. And then the next piece is operational excellence. In our case, we want to focus on setting up alerts for our platform. Our team manages the observability platforms themselves. We run it ourselves because we want to be able for the customer eventually to run it on site the same exact way as we do. So that's why our team dog foods that effort. We are currently watching it with a couple of metrics. We're going to be setting up a real system of alerts to make sure that we're there when the platform goes down. This is one of the pieces that goes towards operational excellence and is documented within this epic over here, in this issue over here. All right, that is it. Thank you very much for watching.